Here we go. Hello guys, and welcome to my build for the Stamina Nightblade for the patch. What patch even is it? We'll call it the Homestead patch. This build, the overall stats are ridiculously high. I mean, the recovery is through the roof, and yet we still have an excellent damage output. Now, one problem that a lot of Nightblades are having at the moment in terms of stamina is survivability. It is very tough to survive. It's not an easy matter to survive at the moment. And the reason that it's not easy to survive is that it's hard to get a good health pool without going heavy. But honestly, open world, Nightblade doesn't really have major mending, and you need more cloak ability. And I really believe roll dodging helps you get that, so I really like medium open world. So this is a medium armor setup. It is 5-1-1. Again, that's for the extra health. Normally, I would like 7 medium in the previous patch. This is a little different now, but we are using some similar sets. A lot of tough stuff to get in this build. I'm not going to lie, it's farm heavy. You need to get the right traits. It pretty much has to be exactly the same as this to be good. So, yeah, it's a tough spot. Let's quickly look at the stats before we go on the sets. This is all unbuffed right now. We are sitting on 3.2k recovery on this bar, and the other bar 3.5k recovery unbuffed. Our weapon damage on our DPS bar is 2.7k, but there's something else that's not showing on there. That's about another 350, 400 when buffed. So do remember that's about 3.1k unbuffed. I can rally that higher. I'll explain that in a bit. 1.23k magical recovery. Our stamina pool is actually pretty decent. It's 31, 32k given what sets we're using. Health pool in Cyrodiil, that's about 23k. Obviously, I'm outside right now, so that's fine. 23k health, I think, is a good spot. I don't really like running what some people do, like 20k, 21k. I feel it's a little low. I've too much the one-shots. This is about the lowest I found that I was comfortable with. So that's why I said pretty much everything has to be as it is here. There's only one thing you could possibly change, I guess. Magicka, 12.5k. That's a lot of Magicka for a Stamina Nightblade. It's a pretty nice setup. And we are using the Serpent Mundus. Now, a lot of people are going to criticize that with the recovery. I mostly play Azora, where the Serpent really shines. But actually, you could use the Shadow in CP. I personally think I would still use the Serpent. And the reason I like that is I like this high sustain right now. I think there's a lot of times where it's very, very valuable. And we are also a Wealth, and we have the ultimate for the Wealth on this back bar on the bow, just for the extra recovery there. You could go Vampire for a huge amount of recovery on both bars, but I think there's a lot of fire damage right now, Dawnbreak and all of that, and I'm not a huge fan of it, so I won't be going there. The food we're using is this one here. We are using the Stamina and Magic Recovery drink. Now, if you were changing the monster set, which I showed to Troll King, you could do that. Then you would probably want to go for Magicka and Stamina and Health Recovery at that point. And the potions we're going to be using all the time in this build are Tripods, without a doubt. That's really helping your recoveries and things. So I'll quickly buff up my stats to show you that. This is obviously without Assassin's Will. I'll even pop that on for you since there's one interchangeable spot here. So let's quickly whack that on. We pop the pop the rally, relentless, and all of that. And this is the stats we're getting to. 3.2k weapon damage. On our back bar, over 4k stamina recovery, 1.4k magical recovery. The back bar, again, more stamina. It is a big difference. It is a huge amount of stats there. Obviously, we're also getting the 8% extra from the relentless as well. So, the sets. This is where it gets juicy. We are using 5 Bone Pirate on the armor. I've been using this a lot recently, and this is where it really shines. This build, it fits so well. It's great for no CP, great for CP, all of it. It's perfect. We're then using 2 Veladrift. Now, this is pretty interchangeable. On the no CP, I actually don't use 2 Veladrift. I use 1 Veladrift and 1 Selene just to get a bit more stamina there. That monster set's pretty changeable. You could probably use almost anything you like there. I would probably suggest going Selene or Veladrift there, to be honest, or Troll King, but you're going to lack a bit of damage then. On our weapons, we are then using the Maelstrom Greatsword. I got this bad boy today and sharpened fucking finally, 169 runs. It is a long grind, I know. You could also use the Master's Greatsword, but it depends a bit whether you're using Crit Rush. So, for example, I currently have the Poison on here that does double poison damage, which is slightly more damage than the actual enchantment itself on the Maelstrom. As you see here, Quick Charge deals an extra 5k damage over 5 seconds. It's slightly more than that, but I'm a little against poison, so I do in fact use the Maelstrom Greatsword as it is, and I actually like the Crit Rush. I will explain that in a sec. We're then using on the back bar the Master's Bow. That's farmed in Dragonstar Arena. Quickly charge that up. That gives us an extra 1k stamina on our back bar and an extra 300 weapon damage that does get buffed against targets that have poison injection on them. So that is very valuable for extra damage. It is a huge increase. Finally, the jewelry, and this is where someone somewhere will get triggered and make a stupid comment, because it is stupid. We are using not agility, free endurance for max health and stamina recovery. You need that health, and the stamina recovery is great. Now, where people will get triggered here is they will say, why are you using that? Agility is better. And the answer is it isn't better in this occasion. You could use healthy agility or agility and then put points into your health tree. So obviously I am all in stamina right now. You could put some in health. But actually it works out mildly better stats to go this way and use endurance for this particular build. And the reason is you'll gain about 20 extra weapon damage and lose 80 recovery, and that just feels a bit of a waste of stats to me. I think I'll take the recovery every day there. 20, not that much. 80 recovery, that's a decent chunk. That's half an enchant, so yeah, go that way. And all of those are enchanted with weapon damage. In the no CP campaign, if you're really struggling, you could go one more recovery, but honestly, you probably shouldn't sustain any problems. It should be fine with that. But it's a different world there, of course. So, one adjustment you can make is the monster set. The other adjustment you can make is if you do not have Master and Maelstrom Bow. Now, if you don't have those, what I would suggest running, and it is a big damage loss, it's a huge damage loss, but you can do it, is to run 2 Endurance and 2 Agility, and then replace one of the Velodrift with a recovery piece like Bloodspawn. That's another way to go here. So, that is an option you have available to you. It depends how your playstyle is, it depends what you fancy, but I would greatly suggest running it like this. This is completely min-maxed. It really is. I've played a lot on this build. Our skills. Pretty basic setup here on the skills. We're using Reverse Slice, Execute, AoE damage, etc. Surprise Attack for the Major Fracture, Base Spam with DPS, etc. Rally, Fear for the CC, Rally for the heal, heal over time, and Incap for our ultimate. Even though it's 70 ulti, if you're in a group, you probably want to run Dawnbreaker there. It is nice, and I would definitely run the Dawnbreaker with a knockdown for group. It is a pretty good ulti. But still open world, even though it's 70 ulti now instead of 125, I do prefer this. So yeah, as I was saying, this is 1 light, 1 heavy, and 5 medium. Do remember that. Bone Power is always medium. Then onto our back bar skills. We're using Shadow Image. That's for kiteability. Pretty important one in my opinion, open world these days, especially with how unreliable Cloak is. You want the crit morph of that for the heal. I'm not going to lie, Cloak really sucks. It's shit. It never works. But if you do get into it, it's very valuable for getting your crit heal. That's the only time I use it. I don't use it for hide and seeking. But getting your heal to crit is really important. So Shadowy Disguise becomes pretty valuable at that point. Shuffle for the dodge chance. Even with a nerf, I think it's pretty good. And the reason I actually like it more than anything is for the snare and movability. I feel that's so valuable open world. A lot of things snaring, and it really does help you when you get knocked down. Poison Injection, of course, for the Master Bow. Great dot. And then Vigor for our heal. Ultimate on the back bar is the Werewolf. I very rarely use that. There are some very rare situations where I will use that. If there's a target that really doesn't have any damage and I truly need the burst, it is better. But most of the time, I'm going to use the Incap. 99.9% of the time, I'll use the Incap. So, I think the last thing I've got to explain is champion points. So, this is not 100% min-max, but it's pretty close. 6 in Magician, 92 in Warlord, so a bit of magical cost reduction for the Cloak and Image and that sort of stuff. 92, most of our skills are stamina-based, of course. Some of them expensive. Recovery, we're mixing it out a bit. Honestly, your magic recovery is pretty high. If you really want to Cloak more, you could take some out of here and pop them in here. I'd suggest taking it down to maybe 55 in Moodcraft to put them in there if you want to run that way. It scales pretty good. But 73 is a decent point, honestly. 1 in Tenacity, so almost every time you Cloak, you're going to have your attack with Bow. You may as well put that 1 in, you're getting 1% extra. That's a big increase for just 1 point, so definitely bang that in. And then 22 in Tumbling for dodge cost. You got a great amount of well-fitted. So I currently run 4 Impen and 3 well-fitted. Tumbling helping out there. Oh, shit. I should have turned it off. Nightmare, thank you for the sub, brother. I do hope you have a fantastic month, man. I hope you have a lovely, lovely month with the Blob Squad, my brother. Thank you so much, mate. Right, where was I? Blue Tree, 31 in Blessed. More healing. Very important as the Stam Nightblade. Your healing, it's poop. Welcome to the Nightblade world. Your healing is terrible. So bang some points in there. It makes a big difference. 2 in Bow Expert, again, for that heavy attack. It's a nice increase. 94 in Mighty. There's no point going to 100. The increase is too little. So go 94. I then put 49 in Piercing for the penetration. 22 in Precise Strike for the crit. And 2 in Thermatage just for the injection. In the Red Tree, 45 in Resistant for crit resist, 13 in Fixed Skin for the dots, 55, again, I did say it scales good, and 73 in here. Honestly, I think you need to reduce magical damage more. Destra ulti is a big problem as a Stamblade, seriously big problem, so that's the way I would go there, mate. And then finally, 1 in expert defender. There are a lot of builds using heavy attacks these days. Might as well put 1 in there. It's a big increase, little cost. And 13 again in quick recovery. If you're really struggling healing, you could take some out of elsewhere, but I feel this is really close to maxed. I like the setup. It works pretty good. So I think I've covered everything. Sorry for the interruption. And I do hope that you have a lovely time with the build. It is very, very strong. I've pretty much min-maxed the damage stats, though. I'm pretty certain those are the best. I have played all around a lot with those, so I wouldn't change those champion points too much. I hope it works for you guys. So, obviously, next week there is the no CP PvP, double XP, double AP there. Cash in. This is the build to run, basically, for a Stand Blade. Best of luck with you. I know what I just said. Goodbye, and I hope the build works very well for you guys. Best of luck.